Hey super friends, my name is Neil and I'm back because today a brand new episode of Creature Commandos is streaming on Max in the US. This is the third episode of the season. It's called Cheers to the Tin Man, once again written by James Gunn and this time directed by Matt Peters. This episode focuses on G.I. Robot, who is voiced by the brilliant Sean Gunn, and is a chance for Creature Commandos to show even more of its versatility in its format, its character storytelling, as well as the action. We are kind of reaching the halfway point, which I realise sounds silly, but this is a 7-episode season, so 3.5 episodes in is halfway through. So we're really seeing this show hitting its stride and showing us exactly what it's made of. There is a really strong focus in this episode on the flashback storytelling. G.I. Robot, obviously, I want to say not being a human character, but obviously none of them are specifically kind of quote-unquote human. But him being a robotic, synthetic character means that there's a lot less emotion. So where you look at an episode like last week with The Bride, where you're able to explore her history and see a lot of the emotion and the heart behind it, what James Gunn has to do with G.I. Robot is find different ways to explore that. And you see that through a kind of unspoken need for connection that he has, as well as his kind of dedication to his mission. Which also obviously brings a lot of humour to the episode as well, because of his constant need to talk about the Nazis and how much he wants to kill the Nazis, and can he go find some more Nazis, and how many Nazis has he killed. So it's more so than the tourmaline necklace and the collywobbles, it's able to lean into a little bit more of the lighter tones of Creature Commandos. And as I said, it really shows more of that versatility, which is really interesting to watch. This is a great vehicle for Sean Gunn to show how his voice can still bring depth to the performance as G.I. Robot, even when the character doesn't have the emotional range of other characters within the series. So if you listen to how he enunciates a lot of the lines, he's able to find some tone and the shades of light and dark in the way that he says the words, without making them emotional, but still being able to portray that there is character and meaning behind it. And that's really interesting, because what we all know James Gunn for, and what has been talked about a lot even since Creature Commando started, is how Gunn is able to take characters that are difficult to connect with, either due to them not being human or them being a robot and therefore not having any heart that we can physically connect to, or characteristics that we're able to recognize in ourselves, but then find just that tiny nugget that you are able to connect with, and to exploit and explore that in a way that helps you to connect with the character who in other ways might be completely alien. And this episode is a really strong example of that. And actually, if you go read my review of this episode over on our website, I gave this episode 3 stars. And it's interesting because I would say this is one of my... I'm not going to say least favourite, because that sounds terrible. This is one of the episodes that stands out less to me across the whole piece that is Creature Commandos than others. It's still wonderful in its own right, and we're about to be joined by a cat. It's still wonderful in its own right, isn't it, Ollie? But it is not as standout as other episodes, I think, because for me I'm less able to connect with G.I. Robot as a character, but what I can appreciate is how James Gunn really works to make him a relatable character as much as is physically possible, and some of that is leaning on the relationship that's growing between him and Nina, which is really interesting across the season. And I'm going to be careful with how I choose my words, because I don't want to spoil anything that's coming up. But Nina, what you will see for her, she was present in the last episode with the bride when she was kind of going through her backstory and reliving what had happened to her. And Nina is somebody who G.I. Robot is kind of making a connection with. And what you're beginning to notice is that actually Nina is in some ways the heart of this group. We've talked about her being the youngest before, and they've talked about her being the most human, even though she obviously in appearance is not human at all. And something you will get to down the line when you see her backstory is how she was at one point human, and how her own tragic story led to where we find her. But what I really think you're seeing here is Gunn and the creative team finding the character who is I don't want to call her childlike, because again, she is young, but she is very capable. But her position in the team is almost as if she is the one that people will want to protect. People naturally gravitate towards her and want to protect her, want to look after her, and want to get to know her more. And you're seeing more of that happen in this episode, which is really interesting and adds a different kind of dynamic, which I was about to say we didn't have in the Suicide Squad, but I guess in a way it has some reflections of Ratcatcher 2 in the Suicide Squad. So maybe if you're kind of looking for a comparison, there's potentially one there. The big exciting point in this episode is finally seeing the team come together for a big fight sequence. Finally, all of them in a fight sequence together, which is typical James Gunn kind of bombastic chaos. So you're finally seeing the Creature Commandos, Task Force M, together. They're taking on the Sons of Themyscira in Pakistan, and it works on so many different levels. One, it's gory and it's gruesome, and it plays into all of those James Gunn tropes of the big gory fight sequence. Two, it's this group working together at last, so you're seeing them complementing each other, using each other's strengths, understanding each other's weaknesses, and the team has formed, and that's really only taken us 3 episodes to get there, and that's really, really exciting to see. But also, hold on a second, this is episode 3. We have 4 more episodes to go, and yet we seem to be resolving things on the ground in Pakistan. So how is that happening, and what does that mean for the storyline going forwards? Which is great, because suddenly you realise that anything you might have thought from episode 1 and 2, where you're thinking, oh, okay, cool, this is kind of like the Suicide Squad in that we've put this team together, we've given them a mission, they're on the mission, it doesn't quite function the way it's supposed to. But actually, hold on a second, the mission seems to be done. So this leads you to some really, really exciting places. Now, unfortunately, Max has spoiled a couple of things in the What's Coming Up this season trailer for the rest of Creature Commandos, but what you will see next is James Gunn employing a hell of a lot of unpredictability to the storyline. You're not going to be able to predict where it's going next, per se, from episode to episode, and that works right through the end of the season. There were plenty of points where I thought I knew what was coming next, and I was proven wrong pretty quickly, or my theory was on the right track but not quite right, and I was proven to be slightly wrong, and things went in a slightly different direction to what I expected, and that's really, 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 really fun to watch through the rest of this season. And I think that is all I want to say on this one. Cool character portrait, lots of versatility in terms of the type of story that we're being told. You saw the big typical James Gunn fun in episode 1. In episode 2, you saw it really, really flex and become something a bit more emotional and a bit darker. Here you're seeing it lean in a little bit more to the comedy, but still with that wonderful character depth underneath it. So let's see where Creature Commandos kind of wants to go next. The next episode, I will tell you, is called Chasing Squirrels, and then it focuses on Weasel, and yeah, we're going to have a lot to talk about next week, which is really exciting. So I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think of Creature Commandos so far. 3 episodes out there to stream on Max. Are you enjoying it? What do you think so far? Who is your favourite character? Who's the standout in the cast? What are you not enjoying? What are you hoping for next? I really want to hear from you. So please find me on social media at NeilVag and let me know. Comment below on your thoughts on the season so far. And get ready. I'll be back next week ready to chase some squirrels with Weasel. So I'll see you next time. Bye! Thanks for watching, Super Friends. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button just down below and hit the bell so that you can get notified whenever we release brand new videos. In fact, there's 2 more waiting for you to watch right here below. So what are you waiting for? Why not click play?